Oh,
You're watching Discovery Channel.
plus a plane of a different kind. It may look kind of normal from the outside, but it's what's inside the fuel tank. It's making this plane the talk of the aviation world. We're going to meet the people behind it and take flight in it. Next. Welcome to the second half of today's show. I'm Jay Ingram. Still lots more ground to cover. From a plane getting ready to make an historic milestone to the physics behind a new electronic gadget, the Kindle Works. We'll also take the wraps off yet another rover that could be destined for Mars, although this one seems to be missing a set of wheels. But first, an aviation first.
This jet is about to try something that's never been done before. In an attempt to turn the world of air travel green.
My biggest concern is environmental. There's a significant CO2 output used in aircraft aviation.
Doug Rodanti and his chief pilot Carol Sugars have just left Reno, Nevada on the first ever transcontinental U.S. flight powered entirely by renewable biofuel. With almost 4,000 kilometers between them and Leesburg, Florida, they've got a long journey ahead. And this journey started long before ever even leaving the ground.
The reason why we believe no one has ever tried to fly a jet aircraft on biofuel was because biofuel gels at a certain temperature. And obviously, as you increase in altitude, your temperature decreases.
That's where the R&D begins. The first stop for any potential green flight biofuel is the Lockheed Martin lab in Orlando, where fuel viscosity is the key.
Fuel viscosity is very critical to the performance of an engine. Just like your car, if gasoline is too thick, it won't flow and the engine won't run. Same thing with a jet engine. The viscosity has to be just in a certain range and just right so that the engine performs to its optimum conditions.
If the biofuel makes the grade here, it's time to see it in action. This is the ground test, a stripped-down jet engine strapped to the back of an SUV.
This is a Motolite M701 engine. It's identical to the engine in the L-29 aircraft that we're operating.
An engine problem at ground level is much less hazardous than at 17,000 feet, but this setup poses its own challenges.
Puts out about 1,950 pounds of thrust, which for a jet is not a lot, but for an engine on a test stand on the ground, you got to keep away from it.
And we're ready to go, Jason.
Ready to go.
I'm basically performing the function of a pilot. I'm starting the engine and running the engine up to typical in-flight speeds in exactly the same way that I would do if I was sitting in a cockpit. We have some identical controls and indications on the test stand that are exact replicas of ones in the aircraft. What we're looking at is the operation of the engine as a whole on the fuel.
Since nobody's flown a jet using only biofuel before, Green Flight is breaking new ground and proving to the FAA that biofuels are flight-worthy. Their first success was a biofuel made from 100% recycled vegetable oil.
Well, the first test was excellent. It smelled like French fry oil while we were on the tarmac.
The fryer grease alone powered the team for just over 3 minutes on its first biofuel test flight in October 2007.
Good job, Carol. Congratulations.
Our first flights were excellent. The performance data was phenomenal compared to Jet A. There were no noticeable differences. However, we did have a little bit of a soot buildup under 55% power.
Now, fast forward to today.
This time around, we have a new fuel source. It's a virgin soy. As opposed to using vegetable oil that was recycled the first time, we're now using virgin biodiesel, which we think will burn a little cleaner than what we had before.
The new fuel gets the jet flying without a hitch. But before even leaving Nevada, there's a different problem. A blown tire during a routine refuel landing causes a near disaster.
I mean, we must have been going 100 miles an hour. We were popping up, and I was thinking we were going to flip right over.
Miraculously, the crew is okay, but the jet needs some repairs. 3 weeks later, they're at it again, more determined than ever to prove that biofuels are the future. Currently, aviation emissions account for about 3.5% of human-caused global warming. If things continue as they are, that number could reach as high as 15% by 2050. Greenflight hopes that biofuels will be part of the solution.
Currently, the carbon emissions are roughly around 50% of what they are in petroleum-based jet fuel.
The team's made it all the way across the Continental Divide on 100% biofuel. But as they approach sea level, rising air density is making the fuel slightly less efficient. Rather than modifying the engine, they opt to do the final 3 legs with a 50-50 biofuel jet fuel blend. Not the original plan, but this will provide some important test data of its own.
I see you now. You can make the right turn and enter the downwind if you like. Roger, right turn to downwind.
Almost a month behind schedule and 4 times over budget, the team is finally arriving home in Leesburg, and the celebration begins.
Welcome home. Thank you for coming out. Yeah, you're welcome, man. That's great. That's great.
Even though they missed their mark, the FAA is already using Greenflight's data to help develop the next generation of aviation biofuels. A success for both Doug and Carol, and hopefully one day, the planet.
It will be important. It will be a milestone. We have achieved our goal. That's the most important thing. And our goal was to act as a catalyst and to raise awareness.
We're in the beginning stages of that, so there's a lot of technology gaps that we have to fill. There's going to be a lot of failures in the business, but there's going to be a few winners, and those are what people are gambling on right now. The payback could be extraordinary in terms of planetary CO2 emissions being reduced.
You're watching Discovery Channel.